What is happening, guys? Welcome back. So the last episode on the Mark 1 Golf seems to have gone down really well, and I'm glad that you were all as excited as I am about getting back on with this project. The little 3-month break that we had from it was really quite needed, but I'm glad to say the drive is back and I am ready and raring to go to get back on with this little car and try and actually get it finished. The new direction is pretty cool, and my search history on the internet now is just Mark 1 Golf 20V turbo conversions, and every waking minute is researching, looking, seeing how we can do things differently to hopefully make this job as good and as easy as possible. So we've been filming this over the past sort of 2 weeks, and I've just sat down and started to go through the footage and start editing it, and it didn't make sense. There were things that I was saying and things that I was talking about that have sort of changed since, because it's been filmed over a bit of a period. So what I'm going to do is try and piece a video together of some form. So what we'll jump into now is we'll get the engine mounted onto the engine stand. We'll get it, all the ancillary bits stripped off, get it outside and give it a clean. Right, now the engine is clean and looking a lot better. We'll get it back in the workshop, and we need to look at sorting out the cam belt tensioner and removing that so we can fit the new engine side engine mount. We'll then get it mated up to the gearbox, get the gearbox mount on, and then we'll look at getting it in the car. Right, so we're going to take all the cam belt off now, but I'm not going to bother putting the cam belt or the new cam belt kit back on because I'm going to take the engine to pieces anyway. And we're not putting the clutch and flywheel or start motor or anything on it, so, and there's not going to be a battery on it, so there's no chance it could be started or turned over and damage anything. But these covers that cover this, you've got a pulley that's on here, which to remove you undo the 4 bolts and it comes off. On that there's timing marks on the pulley, there's timing marks on this cover there, there's a timing mark in the cover up here and in this pulley here. What we've done is we've marked this pulley here as well to a mark on the block. So basically everything's timed up, everything's in the right place, where it needs to be. So we'll undo all this, take all this tensioner and everything off here, put the new mount on, and then we've got, this was a kit that I bought, I think from Retrofication, which is a Mark II 16 valve pulley tensioner, pin that goes in the block, and a spacer, an 8mm spacer that has to go on the pulley, on the block, to put it into the right place to tension the belt. So we're going to get all this off, get the new mount on and get that tensioner on. Just thinking about it, there's not really much point in putting this new tensioner on yet, because I'm stripping the engine down to tidy it up, paint it anyway, and I'm not putting the cam belt on, so I won't bother putting that on. We'll just put the, let me just get a rag and wipe that. We'll put the mount on so we can mount it in the car. That's really all we need to do, I think. And there it is, sat in the car, looking the part in its new home. So we've got the new engine mount on this side, which obviously, as you've seen, bolts directly to the block and goes into the original mount in the car. This side, we've got the new gearbox mount, which again bolts into the original holes. The gearbox is an O2A gearbox, but it's the DPA version, which I believe is out of a Mark III Golf. So the gearbox is obviously bolted up to the engine. We've not got a clutch, we've not got a flywheel in at the minute because we don't really need it for sort of the mocking up stage that we are doing. What I've also done is we've got the O2J shift tower into the gearbox, which is a direct bolt-in piece. You've got, you see there's a bolt down there and a bolt down there. It literally just pushes straight into the gearbox and bolts down that way. I've got the proper, or the cables that I need, or they're the Mark III cables. They might be a little bit too long. This bracket bolts down to the gearbox here. We've got a cable tie on this because this fitting is broken, and I just wanted to see if we could get it to select gears. And then inside the car, we've got the shift tower, or whatever it is, bolted into the car from the underside. Now, the reason I've gone with an O2A gearbox is because I read that was what was needed and bought one. And the reason that we've then gone for an O2J shifter and shift tower setup is because the part that bolts in under the car is a lot slimmer, goes up a lot neater in the transmission tunnel, if you like, of the car, and gives you room then to run your exhaust. So I took it on the ramp, lift it up, and I'll show you it from the underside. Right, looking under the car, there's the shift mechanism and everything mounted in, and yeah, fitted into the car, bolted in. Now I need to make a spacer for these points here, but the difference between this one and the O2A one is these are slightly, I think this one is lower down, which means that the body of this is a lot bigger. So these are pretty much level. The cables are a little bit long, but we'll have to get some short ones unless we can route it somewhere else, but I don't want to go interfere with the exhaust or anything. But it's in, it shifts. I'll go inside and have a play with it in a minute. Rear gearbox mount here. I've ordered one. It's not turned up yet, which will then pick the back of the gearbox up. The front mount is the standard Mark 1 version, albeit that I've taken the thread off the top one and nut and bolted it to where the starter motor goes, which will be something that it's temporary for now, but we'll sort that out and make it look better, or be a better version when we put it back in for the sort of final time. So something else I've been looking at is this here big bracket is where the, I can't remember which way it was, air conditioning and power steering pump are mounted to, and on that same bracket is the alternator. Now I've looked and can't see anywhere a new bracket for it, so what we're going to do is cut this cast bracket down somewhere up there so the alternator still bolts to the block, and it just gets rid of this and it looks a little bit neater. Not really sure if that's the right way to do it, but that's what we're going to be doing on that. I'll just lean in the car and show you it sort of selects gears, although that that connector in the front is not the best. So I've got all 5 and then down for reverse. It's just not set quite right. It will work. This is obviously temporary, just to see if the idea works. I'll be making a plate that bolts into this, that clamps it into the car, spaces for the front, that will bolt that in, and that is pretty much then sorted. You just need to check the dash and the centre console, make sure they still fit, but from what I've read online, they will. So we've made some progress. There is still a lot to do, and a lot has changed in 2 weeks from the way that I was going to do things to the way I am. First thing then that really has changed, I was planning on really just running it as a pretty much normal engine bay. We were going to just have a header tank, the battery, everything in the engine bay that you need in the engine bay. After doing a bit of research, I've found that you can get a top fill radiator. So a radiator that's sort of got the expansion tank built into it. So we can do away with the expansion tank. We don't need to be fitting that. So we're going with a top fill radiator in here. I've got this universal intercooler, which seems to be what people use, which will be being mounted in here somewhere in some way, which we'll be doing when the radiator turns up, so we know it's all going to fit. We're keeping drive-by-wire throttle, which we'll come on to what we're doing with that in a minute. Battery tray is going. We're going to get rid of the battery tray and we're going to relocate that into the boot. The washer bottle as well, we're going to relocate that into the boot, probably into the spare wheel well, maybe, keep it nice and neat. All these brackets, various things are coming out of here. We're going to be, to an extent, smoothing the bay. I've seen people delete these bits, these here. So we might have a look at doing them. We'll tidy some holes up, tidy the bay up, make it look nice. I'm undecided at the minute. I want to take this out, but I don't, because I want to build a car that's going to look nice, but I still want it to be usable. And the idea of that is that it stops engine fumes getting into the heater, which then go into the cabin. I think I'm probably going to end up deleting that and not worrying about it, but that's another one. So the main thing that we changed our mind on, normally on these, because it's a right-hand drive car, the servo and master cylinder for the brakes are this side, and there's a bar that comes across here, which has got pivot points either side. When you press the brake pedal, it pushes that, which then enables the master cylinder, or engages the master cylinder, to then put fluid to each corner. And I'll put a picture in now. They just look busy and not very nice, and yeah, not the best. So I found on eBay a company or a guy that you send your steering column to, and he cuts all the pedal and everything area off, and then welds on a 3-point master cylinders, 3 master cylinders, or a bracket for 3 master cylinders, 2 for the braking, 1 for the front, 1 for the rear, and 1 for the clutch, because we're going to be doing a hydraulic clutch conversion on this as well, because apparently it's the easiest thing to do, and it doesn't, yeah, in my head it seems better. So we're planning is we're going to get rid of all the braking stuff out of here and have it on the steering rack or on the pedals in the car. Now, the bracket that I've seen him do, he does also do for drive-by-wire throttle pedal as well, which, again, me being me, got all excited, ordered stuff. We have got a drive-by-wire throttle bolted into the car on a retrofication bracket, although I don't think this Mark IV pedal is then correct with the bracket that this guy makes, because I think it bolts up instead of to the bulkhead. So that could be another little error. So we might have a drive-by-wire pedal bracket available soon. Not that they're worth a lot, but yeah, might be one for sale. So the plan now really is the engine is in. We're going to get the rear engine mount on. I want to get the new bracket on to make sure that we're selecting gears and doing what we need to do, which then leads us on to the Loom. So there's a few different ways you can do this. You can run standalone management, which is good in a respect. It's very expensive, and I don't want to do that. So we'll be using the standard ECU and the standard wiring loom, if you like. We've got the actual engine loom that goes to the injectors and the coils and everything, and then the secondary engine loom, which goes to lambda sensor, MAF sensor, things like that, and the ECU, plus the complete original Mark 1 Golf wiring loom. All of that lot has been sent off to Engine Swaps by Russ to work his magic and integrate all of the wiring into basically a plug-and-play system. So it comes back, we plug it into the fuse board, plug it into everywhere on the car, put power to it, and it should work. The immobiliser has also been deleted by VAG Immo Delete. I think is there, both the handles. They'll have been on the screen, or I'll be putting them on the screen, and it's all in the description as well. Hit them guys up if you need any of that doing, because that was a part of it that I really couldn't get my head around how it was going to work. Super easy, super fast, and I'm looking forward to getting that in. And we can work out where we're going to run that, because that's another thing that's keeping me awake at night, is I've decided I want to try and do a bit of a wire tuck if I can, which is going to mean I'm going to need to extend the wires that have just been sorted, which is annoying. But yeah, there's many problems. We're going to come across many things, and like I say, this video is going to be a bit of a mess because we've not really done a lot, because I've not really been here, and every time I try and do something I need to order something, and that takes then 2 or 3 days, and then it's another week gone. That's pretty much where we're at with it so far. There's quite a few decisions been made. The engine's sat in the hole, which is nice and what I wanted to happen. We need to sort the pedals out. Hopefully we'll be able to get the loom and things back in. There's a few other bits I want to do to it, to put into it, before we go taking everything out, and then we're going to be body working it, removing more seam sealer, welding up all these seams and things in the engine bay to tidy it up. But yeah, that's where we are with it all so far. So yeah, that's what we're doing. Who knows what's going to happen next week. I'm hoping next week we're going to really be able to get some more stuff done on this, and you'll be able to see me doing stuff instead of me just talking. But we'll leave that one there then, guys. Yeah, until next time, enjoy.